Welcome to the Teresa Harding podcast, where you will learn from one of the top leaders in the network marketing industry. Teresa Harding has grown her team to over millions of people. She's grown online and she's grown offline, and now she's ready to show you the secrets. So get ready to change the way you think. She truly cares about the success of her team and the people that she teaches. So get ready to learn the tips, tricks, and secrets that will allow you to grow a successful business in the 21st century.
I'm Teresa Harding, and this is the Teresa Harding Podcast. This podcast is for people who know that this industry is not about the network marketer anymore. It's about the people we serve and the change we can make in other people's lives. It's about the entrepreneur inside of each of us who's trying to find our voice. It's for the people who want to change the world and are looking for the most powerful way to make that happen. Show you how to start creating your own story, all right? Because what happens is we don't want to get vulnerable. And in fact, what happened was I thought I was pretty good at telling my story before I started learning what I'm about to show you. But the reality is I wasn't as good as I thought I was because I was afraid to be vulnerable in my social media. Even when I got to the point where I was posting every day and sharing what seemed like vulnerable things, I would share vulnerable things up to a point, but then keep the most vulnerable stuff and not share that. Because it's hard. It's hard to do. But let me show you what happens, Kate. So when there is, this is called the Epiphany Bridge. All right? Uh-oh. Is this going to hold up? Okay. So here's our Epiphany Bridge, and this is what happens. The hero in the story has a journey. Has a total journey, and people want to know what that journey is. And there's a guy named Michael Haig. He is famous in the film industry because he came up with the hero's two journeys. So it's basically the story of the hero's two journeys that I'm going to share with you. But I call it the Epiphany Bridge because one of my mentors, Russell Brunson, calls it that, and I like the way he describes it because it kind of fleshes it out even more. But what happens, what Michael Haig did is he in the film industry has become the standard. This is the standard that they use. Every single movie you watch will have this outline. I'll show you what it looks like. So first of all, the hero of the story, first they will have an internal and an external struggle, okay? Okay, my internal external struggle was that I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be popular. That was the external struggle. But what was the internal struggle? You guys understood that my internal struggle was I wanted to have friends. I didn't feel like people liked me. And so there's an internal and an external struggle, and that is huge. Okay, then what happens is the person goes along in their journey and then they hit a wall. And that wall can be anything that's hard that they come across. For me, that wall was the birthday party. I hit a wall, and look what happened. It was really hard for me. And that wall helped me, it made me go through a struggle. The wall is always a struggle. And after the struggle is over, as you go through the struggle, then you have an epiphany. And the epiphany is your aha moment, where you go, oh my goodness, you realize something you didn't realize before. And it's huge. And then after the epiphany, then it makes you want to create a plan. Because the epiphany was so strong, they're like, hey, status quo isn't good enough anymore. So then you create a plan. And for me, that's in that story, my plan was, once I had the epiphany, which was, I want to be the kind of person that treats people like that. My plan now became treat people like that. And no matter what I did, everything was about that. And I didn't even realize I was being more clean. I didn't even realize I was doing my chores better, whatever. I changed all around because the epiphany was so big that the plan was what I needed to do to make sure I became whatever the epiphany made me realize, okay? The next thing is then there's a conflict. And what happens is after you make a plan, then you start going after the plan, and you start figuring it out. And this is something I didn't flesh out as much in my story. In fact, I didn't at all, as I didn't take the time to do that. But there's a conflict. After you make the plan, then the conflict in my story would have been, which is true, that as I started to do that, people still thought of me a certain way. So it's not like I made friends all of a sudden. It was still a struggle. I still didn't feel like I really had friends. But as time went on, it happened over time, and it was a gradual thing. That by the time I was at the end of my high school, everyone was my friend. But not because I was trying to be popular. But there was conflict in there as I was trying to make the plan happen. And it was a struggle, and it was hard. So that's something I didn't include. Okay, then after the conflict is the final piece. It's achievement. It's when they make like you have an achievement. Okay, so, but that's not the only piece. A lot of people, they get messed up because they just show the achievement. My achievement in my story was I was voted as May Princess and then May Queen. Well, everybody's excited about that. That's a powerful story. But think of the other thing that happened that made it 10 times more powerful for you. Because guess what? What if I had never become May Queen? What if the person doesn't get what they want? Or what seems like, oh, that would be the result of you changing and being a better person. Because guess what? There's achievement and there's transformation. So it's either, well, it's both. It's not either. A transformation happened to me that changed who I was, that ended up having a better result than what I wanted. Originally, I wanted to be popular. Well, guess what? However you want to measure popular, if that means having a lot of friends, well, guess what? Then I guess I became popular. But guess what? This is what touched you. I did not think I was going to get so emotional. It's because of the transformation that happened, because of all this that I went through. So you notice how I shared that with you. So let me now that you understand what I'm doing, let me tell you, let me give you another example. The movie Cars by Disney. Think about the movie Cars. What happens? Let's walk through this together so you can see how that works. In the movie Cars, the car, what's his name? My mind just went blank. It's McQueen, Lightning McQueen. He has an internal and an external struggle. What is it? He wants to win the race, the external struggle. So really what you see is the external struggle. But what they do in the movies and what we need to do in our marketing is let them see the external struggle, but it's vulnerable to say, what does he really want? He wants to be accepted. He wants to feel like he's cool. He wants to do something that gets him attention and makes him feel like he's special. He wants to be special. That's the internal struggle. Then what happens in the movie? He hits a wall. He goes to Radiator Springs and he gets stuck there. And so he's stuck in Radiator Springs and there's a problem. Then he goes through all these problems while he's in this wall place. And what happens? He gains relationships with all these people in the town. And he starts to care about them. And he starts to learn about them. And he wants what's best for them. And he starts to care more about them than he cares about his piston cup. So he has an epiphany. He has an epiphany. And he goes, oh my goodness, I love these people. And then everything resolves itself and he gets to be on his way and he goes to the race. And he's so excited he gets to do the race. He makes a plan. Okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to do the race. And now it's all good. And by now everybody loves him because they've seen he's gone through the wall. They've seen the epiphany. Like, oh yes, now everybody's rooting for him. And they're saying, I hope he wins. I hope he can do it. Of course he's going to win because it's going to end right. And then he has a conflict. And the conflict happens in the race. He's in the middle of the race. And then what happens? His good buddy needs him. And so he stops himself in the middle of the race when he could have won. He stops himself to go help his friend. And so he has his conflict. And then at the very end, and you would think the achievement would be, oh, he won the Piston Cup. Did he win? No, he lost because he did that. But guess what? He had this. He had transformed into something way better, way more powerful than the Piston Cup, than winning the Piston Cup. So you see how they take you through that process? Now, hopefully that won't ruin movies for you now. From now on, when you watch movies, you watch. They do exactly this every time. And that's why it doesn't matter at the end of a TV series or the end of a movie if they get the achievement or not. It's all about the transformation. Somebody has a transformation. The hero has a transformation that's powerful. Okay, so you sell with your story, not with facts. And what most people do is they share one piece of this, and often it's the less vulnerable part. So they share the external struggle. They might share a little bit of the wall, and then or sometimes they don't even share that. They share the epiphany, and then they share the achievement, and that's all. So the thing about network marketing is that this is what people do. I'm going to draw a bridge. This is the Epiphany bridge, okay? Here's you. You're going along on your journey. You're all happy, and you find the product, and you have an epiphany, and then this is what happens. You get to a place where now you know all this stuff, and you're so excited to share it with somebody, and so here you are over here. You've learned all this stuff, and I'm going to put glasses on you because now you're all smart. You know? And guess what happens? You start spewing all this technobabble. That word was coined by a woman. What's her name? She wrote a marketing book about what did she call it? Let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can figure out what her name is. I want to give her credit. Her name is Kim Clavier. She wrote the network marketing book. If my product is so great, how come nobody buys it? How come nobody's buying it? Okay, so she called this technobabble. Uh-oh. I want to say babble, but I'm not sure if that's how you spell that. So you start spewing all this technobabble about gas chromatographs and all these things that you learned about essential oils, when really what sells is your story, this story, the epiphany. And you can't just tell them your story and tell them the epiphany so now they have the epiphany. That doesn't work. You have to let them have their own epiphany. So you tell them your story, let them have their own epiphany. And when you tell the story the way I just outlined, that's when you start to see things change. And when you do this online, you've got to do the same thing. That's what turns you from a salesman to a marketer. That's what makes the difference. So just remember, sell with the story, not with the facts. People like to sell with the facts, and because this is what happens. We buy from the emotion, but then we justify our purchase. So imagine if somebody goes and buys their dream car. They go buy their Lamborghini, and they're so excited about their car. When they get to talking to other people, and people, their friends say, "Oh, so why did you buy that?" Then what do they say? Because it looks cool and it makes me look cool and it makes me feel like I'm James Bond. No, that's not usually what comes out of our mouth is, well, because I got this great deal and it goes this fast and it saves this much gas and this. That's not why they bought the car. They bought it for the emotional reason. They're doing the same thing. They're sharing the technobabble. Get your story written. If you do not do this piece and get good at your story, you will not be very good at the marketing and you will struggle. I promise. So this is what turns you from the salesman to the marketer. Thanks for coming, you guys.